Hi everyone, I'm Todd C. Slater, the Simple Investor. Thought I'd just give you a quick update on what's happening in the market this summer. As we see reports unfold over the last couple of weeks, what we're hearing a lot, of course, is the fact that the market is starting to take off. In fact, it's starting to show the life that we were seeing in February of this year prior to the pandemic. So where does this lead? Where is everybody going to be going with this marketplace? Well, right now, the Toronto Real Estate Board is reporting that prices are up. In fact, year over year, we are going up from 2019. The numbers themselves, the volume is down, of course, because we are not having the same number of properties being listed. So what does that leave you if you're thinking of coming into the marketplace? Well, potentially you could get into some competing offers. And right now we are seeing some multiple offers in different marketplaces. More importantly, if you're thinking of selling, this might be a good time because the market is heating up in some of the detached marketplaces. Now, I just was reading a report that came out from the Building Association saying that finally the starts for new build construction is now going back to a more of a normal place. June was a much stronger month as people were allowed to go back to work, get on construction sites. And as the province continues to open up more and more, I think once we start seeing more employment, people feeling better about the actual prospects for the future, I think we're going to see more of an uptick in the marketplace. So where are the numbers going to finally end up for 2020? Well, you know what? The fact that we can actually get to a neutral or positive number, meaning year over year the prices are going to be higher, then I think that we've done exceptionally well. I've had a lot of people talk to me about saying, hey Todd, back in March and April when this thing was unfolding, you kept saying the market was going to stay stable. Why did you figure that out? And I have to tell you, one of the things I try to focus on is analyzing all the numbers right across the country. But more importantly, we have to remember what real estate truly is. And that is more of an emotional thing. When people buy stocks, it's all about numbers. But when we talk about real estate, there's a lot more emotion in real estate. Even if you're buying an investment property, I know so many people that want to buy investment properties because they emotionally want to buy something and say, look, I own an investment property. Well, it makes a lot of sense until you have massive negative cash flow and then you become a real estate speculator. But when people are starting to look for a primary residence, perhaps their family's expanding, more and more of these people are going to continue to buy because, again, it's an emotional thing. Now, it doesn't hurt the fact that we've got really low interest rates, and thanks to the Bank of Canada and the US Fed, they're pretty much telling everybody interest rates are going to stay very low for the next several years. Yeah, I know that we've been able to dig ourselves into a big, big hole here, obviously, with the expense of this pandemic. So why would people actually want to go and invest into real estate? Well, one thing we did recognize during this entire time is the fact that the most important thing is to have a decent roof over your head. Now that could be if you're a tenant or if you're a homeowner. So this is going to become the norm, folks. What we're going to see more and more is that people will invest in real estate. The idea of having a safe, comfortable place to live is going to become more important. And as the markets begin to change, as we start seeing people come back to work, maybe it's not going to be the same way it was. And that means the outer markets are going to take off as well. The numbers that we've started seeing in some of the reporting from Southern Ontario, East, West, it's amazing some of these numbers that we're starting to see. The fact that some of these marketplaces, they didn't go down at all. In fact, they went up 10% year over year. Now, that's a pretty substantial number. And when we start getting into something closer to 15 or 20, we start looking at an overheated market. This is not something we're going to want to do because then the government, of course, what they'll typically do is step in and try to squash this. Now, again, when we had 2018 come along and the market was, really roaring along in 2017, the government implemented all sorts of things, and perhaps they're going to do that again if it gets out of hand. But in the meantime, I'm going to tell you this. I think the market's going to be very stable for the rest of the year, as I have been saying from day one when the pandemic started. What I did take exception to, of course, was the fact that the province isn't allowing the evictions for landlords to open up yet, or they are not even having a conversation. Now, I agree. Everybody, as cooperative people, we want to be able to work with tenants and landlords. But ultimately, in the end, this is leaving a lot of landlords out of pocket. What is the province going to do? Well, that's why I introduced the new program, the Simple Landlord. And if you're in that position where you're managing something and your tenant's not paying you, The simple landlord can step in and will start taking over all the administration of what is necessary to be able to collect your rent in the future and represent you in the LTB. That's for another topic, and we don't have to talk too much about that. I just wanted to give you an update today because, quite frankly, I think the market's going to stay very, very stable for the rest of the summer and throughout the fall. And if anything, if we can get everybody back to work, I think the fall is going to be a booming market, sort of like the spring market that we missed. Now, again, a lot of people said, hey, Todd, look at, how did you know the number wasn't going to dip? CMHC came out with this prediction that the market was absolutely going to tank. Well, in some marketplaces, it is having an adverse effect, of course. And those were provinces that were struggling even before the pandemic. So we can't always equate everything to the pandemic. We have to accept, these marketplaces were struggling. The energy sector. So we take a look at Alberta and Edmonton. Okay, we take a look at Vancouver, which was overheated to a certain extent, and now it is rebounding. In fact, the big price point is going exceptionally well. The funny thing is the East Coast is doing really well. Why? Because people like the outer markets, and there's a lot of them in the East Coast. So there are going to be those markets that are going to struggle, but they were probably struggling before the pandemic. They're not the ones that are being affected by COVID-19. Those were more of an economic issue, and all it did was modify it when the pandemic hit. So when we take a look at the GTA market, or for that matter, Ontario itself, one of the strongest generators in the world for real estate values, and I think it's going to continue so. In fact, you know what? If I was going to give you a prediction, I think over the next 5 years, you're going to see very, very steady values go up over these marketplaces. And of course, once we open up immigration, I think that we're going to see more and more people want to gravitate to Canada. I commend everybody for being safe. As you know, we have the Simple Investor masks. If anybody wants one, we're happy to send them out because one of the things we want to do is make sure everybody stays safe. And now it's mandatory. So I just thought I'd give everybody a quick update on what's happening this week in real estate. And again, the numbers are kind of defying what the original government and economists were saying. Kind of like sticking it to them. And quite frankly, you know what? They forgot about the human emotion and really what the necessity is for people to live in a roof over their head that they own. And you can't calculate that one. That's the one that you have to turn around and want. And so many people want that. So anyways, just thought I'd give you an idea of what's going on, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks very much for watching.